Hi, and welcome to my presentation on how to build your digital highway for continuous software delivery. I'm Miloradovic, and I'm part of the Digital Architect Zurich, talking to you today about how to build that highway. So first, I'll show you quickly the outline of what I'll be talking about in specific. First, about Digital Architect Zurich, who we are and what we do. Then we'll have a look at digital transformation with a real-life example of a Swiss leading bank. We'll take a look at the principle of success, ranging from continuous delivery, AI ops, to site reliability engineering and our own take on SRE. We'll take a look at the big picture of a blueprint for the building of a digital highway for continuous software delivery. We'll see the metrics of success based on the real-life example of that bank, and at the end, I will give you a conclusion. So let's get started. At Digital Architect Zurich, we're a cloud transformation consulting company where we're ensuring software quality and service management in the age of digital transformation, cloud, site reliability engineering, and DevOps. We're leveraging cloud native and AI-driven technologies and best practices. And we're part of the Swiss Digital Network, an agile network of specialized consulting cells. We are based in Zurich. It's a Swiss company, and the Swiss Digital Network is all about Switzerland, and we're part of that. So let's take a look on how to build your digital highway for continuous software delivery, how to get into the fast lane of software delivery. Digital transformation, in our view, is not just changing your software or one small step and then it's done. It's a holistic change in our point of view, where we have to look at the operating model, the technology, and also the culture. And we have to change all that. It needs to be a digital transformation that covers all of these topics. For that, we're leveraging new generation IT capabilities. That's our philosophy. What are the challenges that we face in the market? I'll give you an example on a leading Swiss bank where our starting point was an end-of-life software deployment. The current release automation solution basically bottlenecked the deployment frequency. We needed to change all that. We needed to move away from that legacy release automation solution and find something new. So their needs were a quick migration path. So it wasn't, even though I talked about how it's a digital transformation is a holistic change, we need to change all those aspects, but the quick migration path is something changing everything, but doing it fast. We don't have too much time to do that, so we need to get there fast. A higher deployment frequency and a sustained reliability were other aspects that were very important for the bank. Now, of course, Zurich, you can imagine, is banking capital. It's also about security. So they have an on-premise solution. They need audit trails. They need to make sure that everything in terms of security they got under control. So those are some of the demands from their side. They have thus a hybrid deployment scenario, legacy and cloud native. So that was also an aspect. Then they had a high quantity of apps which had some similarities, but in essence, they need to be, in order to deliver those apps fast, cannot go into every single app and start everything from the ground up. You need a templatization to make all that change happen. Then another important aspect was self-service, cloud adoption, development speed with low maintenance efforts. So how do we approach such a high demand in terms of these are challenges that we need to have a good approach? We conquer these challenges by using the three pillars of the digital highway. In our philosophy, we focus on the Cloud SRE-Centric Operating Model, the Cloud Native and AI-driven operations, and the Cloud Native and AI-driven continuous delivery to basically build that digital highway and get you going fast. In essence, the Cloud SRE-Centric Operating Model is our own effective SRE philosophy, which I'll go into a little bit later. Then we have those AI ops for the operations and CI, CD, CV. So we're talking continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous verification to get that deployment frequency up and maintenance hour spent down. So we have our philosophy as a blueprint. This is how you build that digital highway. You can take a look here. You see there are quite a lot of complex parts to it. We start on the bottom left from the continuous integration with the DevOps team working there. We then go through deployment and test automation stages. And this is all part of the continuous delivery pipeline. There are the continuous verification part, rollback automation, but this is all based on service level indicators feeding into AI ops and site reliability engineers. So we're talking SRE, having that SRE cockpit, having the overview, having the control. So we need service level objective deployment and incident dashboards for the incident management. This means we, on the bottom, get that continuous delivery pipeline rolling, churning out those deployments, while at the same time we have total control in the SRE cockpit, seeing if anything goes wrong and being able to assure that reliability. So let's take a look by on the bottom, basically focusing first on the continuous delivery aspect, so the cloud native and AI-driven CD/CV, the continuous delivery pipeline. So we can see here the continuous delivery. This is our reference model. We start at the bottom. We have an orchestration and scheduling layer. We have here the scope being distributed in an SRE scope and developer scope. So we can see the continuous integration is the base where you build, test those artifacts. But then already you have the cloud infrastructure management, the provisioning, the release strategy, the rollback management, the workflow and pipeline management, and the sequence and compliance, which are then in SRE scope, on which we then have the basis for the performance and quality assurance metrics and logs. So we have here on the developer side, the testing demands, while at the same time we have the cloud native monitoring, microservice APM, log monitoring, and instrumentation and monitoring platforms in the SRE scope. Then we move up to the performance and quality and assurance through analytics and machine learning. We're all about automation. You don't want to waste your time. You want to be efficient. Have that overview basically in the role-based visualization layer on the very top, both as a developer with a functional quality assurance dashboard, but also an overview as SRE. We're looking at the performance, the security, deployment, and rollbacks with their dashboards to assure that quality and that reliability of the system. So you can see how the continuous verification, both on the analytics and machine learning sides, feed back into the lower layers that can then trigger rollbacks and make sure that stuff is working, that it's really not to make sure that you have full reliability all of the time. So now the next part of the big picture of our blueprint for digital highway, we have AI ops, the operation parts, where you're taking the service level indicators and you're feeding them into the AI ops. You need to have automation parts. You want to leverage this new generation AI capabilities for your reliability. So let's take a look at those AI-driven operations monitoring. It's observability-based instrumentation, while at the same time having the AI-driven monitoring architecture. So here we have the split in light blue with the digital highway, self-service monitoring and analysis. But of course, you always have the legacy IT monitoring as a reference here. In the observability data collection layer, you have for the digital highway, you want to have open telemetry, microservices, APM with open source data services. On the right side, of course, with on the legacy side, you have the Linux, Windows logs, the legacy APM, and these have to be connected, of course. So very often you then have on the observability with huge data demands, you're dealing with big data. So you want to make sure that your streaming analytics are fast. They're not based with huge intervals in between. You want it to have a continuous analytics. So for that, you then use artificial intelligence for the ops, the continuous delivery, for the continuous delivery, and the ITSM in the multi-use case AI-driven automation. And then on the very top layer, we have the DevOps and SRE dashboards as a code. So we're talking DevOps dashboards, SRE and service level objective dashboards. The responsibilities for this operations monitoring lie as follows. The designing and the building, we take over as digital architects, whereas the maintaining and operation goes such that SREs, that's their main responsibility, and with the key users being the DevOps teams and the SRE teams. So let's look at the very top of our blueprint. We have our SRE Cockpit, where the magic happens because you get to monitor every part of it while not having to waste time with the small aspects. That should be taken care of by automation. Our SRE-driven operating model, we call effective SRE. So what does that mean? For that, we have to go back to the very definition of software reliability as the probability of failure-free software operation for a specified period of time in a specified environment. So that means historically, we're talking about software reliability engineering starting in the early 70s as a modeling and prediction discipline, but then evolved through testing, monitoring, and operations. This involved mainly quality assurance, performance engineering, and, as we all know, system administrators. You can see the top right, what it looked like in the 70s. And then Google came in the early 2000s with their site reliability engineering, short SRE, where they wanted to scope with extreme scalability and efficiency targets. So for them, there appeared a trade-off. They needed to have release frequency that allowed them to get those features out. So they needed the high delivery speed, while at the same time having a high operation stability based on their service level objectives. So you want to have that customer centricity in a way, being able to give them the newest features, the newest updates, make sure that things are working because maybe you're fixing something and you need to get that fix out there. But at the same time, you change another aspect and you want to make sure that you're always reliable. So this trade-off in 2000s faced by Google is now something that a lot of companies are facing. So this is the daily business of many organizations nowadays when they're looking for digital transformation. So in our view, this created the need to conceptualize an SRE approach, which was accessible for every company. So that meant not just Google, but every company needs to be able to integrate SREs into their mindset, into their work. And this, because of that, we created the effective SRE framework. So effective SRE 3D engineering scope that we're looking at here is about the pyramid on the right here. This is our scope. And we have, starting with, on the left, we have service level objective engineering that involves service level indicator monitoring, AI ops, and architecture reliability patterns. On the bottom, we have continuous delivery, which a complete continuous pipeline involving cloud elastic provisioning, but also continuous verification. And then lastly, we have operations efficiency. That's all about emergency response, automation, and being on call. So that for us gives us the effective SRE mission as an equation of SRE, where you have service level objective assurance times continuous delivery times operations efficiency. So effective site reliability engineers are basically co-building, maintaining, and operating the continuous delivery pipeline, the IT operations management, And then basically they're piloting the SRE cockpit, which I've shown before, by monitoring those aspects on very effective dashboards. These, of course, you have to build. So this gives us then effective SRE key principles, where you need to have reliability-aware application architecture, error budgeting, service level object engineering, smart automation, release engineering, and you have to adopt and extend the DevOps culture values. So as best SRE effective SRE practices, the SRE architecture practices are there to design the digital highway, build those pipelines, including continuous verification with AI ops. With the implementation practices, you pilot the digital highway with the real-time SRE cockpit, and the operation practices in our effective SRE, you operate the digital highway with the continuous feedback, sharing, and improvement. So I promised you, we will take a look, of course, how we overcame, how we conquered these challenges with the leading Swiss bank. We were able to implement the new continuous delivery solution with Harness for the legacy and cloud environments. And we did this actually at a breakneck speed. So we have the initial implementation time of their core banking app went down from 6 months with what that was their previous solution. It took them 6 months to build something like that. And in just 2 weeks, we were able to transition that app and get it going with our digital highway. So that led to a significant increase of software delivery speed. We're talking from a quarterly release frequency to a weekly release frequency. So it's important to get those releases out there as fast as possible while sustaining that reliability. And we were able to halve the total time spent on maintaining continuous delivery. So we can see even the customer, we have a quote here that we were able to basically drastically improve our deployment process because of the template architecture that I mentioned before. We achieved stability and high performance. So everybody is happy. So the 3 pillars of your digital highway are really based on the cloud effective SRE-Centric Operating Model, the cloud native and AI-driven operations, and the cloud native and AI-driven continuous delivery. That's what we're all about at Digital Architect Zurich. And I thank you very much for your attention and for being here with me today and hearing all about those very, very interesting aspects of your own digital highway. Feel free to contact me on my email if you have any questions or if you're interested to hear more. Thank you very much.